Welcome to Massive Passive Cash Flow, the podcast that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and let's start building your wealth. Here's your host, Gary Wilson.
Welcome back to the Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. I'm Gary Wilson, your host, and I'm glad to see you back. Hey, if you wouldn't mind doing so, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the podcast. It's on any of your favorite channels, Apple, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, you name it. It's out there on a lot of channels. So, and while you're out there, by the way, visit globalinvestoragent.com. If you're an investor, this is where you'll find agents who are trained to work with you and I, the investor. They know how to identify, analyze, and negotiate properties on and off market for you and I. They have tools and strategies that, quite frankly, most other agents just don't have. We can find out anything we need to at our fingertips on any property and any person anywhere in the United States. So quite an advantage. In any case, we have a great guest today, Brianna Latham, who I actually know personally, because she is, believe it or not, a global investor agent, okay, and in Nashville, Tennessee. So Brianna, welcome aboard. I thank you so much for taking your precious time to do this.
Thank you, Gary. It's my pleasure to be here, and good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. And you've got a great business going on there. I know you got. I think last spring you were voted in top 5% of all the agents in the area, and lots of other accolades. But instead of me bragging about you, I want to let you go ahead and let people know a little bit about the real, because there's more to you than just helping people buy and sell real estate. So if you don't mind sharing, go ahead and give us the good stuff.
Absolutely. I am a Nashville native, which, considering about 70 people are moving here a day, is a unicorn. So there's more transplants than there are original occupants. Mm-hmm. Went away for 10 years, thought, I'm too big for the city. Spent 10 years in Massachusetts and could not wait to come back. Mm-hmm. I am a mother of 6 boys, a former foster mom of 60. Wow. And my passion is building wealth through real estate. So I'm more than a transactional realtor. I'm a relational. So I want to build not only give you a home, but build your real estate portfolio. So if your next step is then a rental or a bigger house or an apartment complex, which led me to the wonderful resources of the team.
Oh, thank you. Well, and it's the Global Investor Agent team. This is a special podcast for us because we're both on the same team, and I appreciate you mentioning that. So let me ask you this: in Nashville, it's where it's located geographically. You can get there in an 8-hour drive from several other major metropolitan areas, which is probably why FedEx made it a hub.
So the neat thing about Nashville, so FedEx is actually in Memphis, a little bit west of Nashville, and we can kind of get into the diversification of the economies of Tennessee and how that plays in to where we are today. But then Nashville being actually Tennessee's like 3 grand divisions, east, middle, and west, with Nashville having 3 major interstates coming into one location. Within a 4-hour drive, you have about 7 major markets.
Wow. That
you can get to outside of the state. So, and then if you go 6 hours, it's even more. The economy of Tennessee really began its diversification under Governor Ned Ray McWhorter in the 80s. We were primarily, mostly like agricultural and a few other economies throughout the state. And he's foresaw the need to diversify. And so we have HCA, which is TriStar Hospitals, the largest for-profit hospital in the country here, and all the ancillary businesses that come with that. So we are now a healthcare hub, insurance, sales, equipment, all of that. So we were moving beyond the agricultural. We also began courting different automotive industries. So in 2010, Nissan came to Tennessee with a tax package, a federal loan, and that was several $1 billion. And so that grew. And with the proximity to all the major roads and major markets, FedEx picked Memphis, Tennessee, and East Tennessee, which was primarily agricultural because of the hills. We have a lot of colleges and universities. We had some film developers that were there as well. We have 14 colleges and university in 14 colleges and universities in Tennessee, in Nashville alone, the Nashville area. And Belmont University, so backing up, Nashville is known as the Music City, capital of the world, and actually has to do with the Fifth Jubilee Singers back in the 1800s. Country music came after that. Being known for country music came after that. But we had the first music engineering program in the country at Belmont University. So we have Music Row. Every major recording label is located in Nashville. So you may have anywhere from Shania Twain to Lionel Richie, to R&B artists, to heavy metal. But because of that, so it really started with the vision of some business and political leaders back in the 80s that carried on over till now. And now with Nashville, one of the hottest markets as far as job opportunity and real estate, the touching counties, and there are about 5 or 6 of them, are growing as well.
Wow. Well, that's pretty impressive. And I've been there on more than 2 occasions, but on 2 occasions I was there teaching for about a week at a time, in different, in Nashville and the surrounding areas like Murfreesboro, Clarksville, St. Juliet, drawing a blank here, it's like east, northeast of Nashville. Any case, it's, I think, Springfield or Silver Spring.
Spring Hill. So Spring Hill, we just got in Spring Hill, which is south of Nashville.
Okay.
A $2.5 billion federal loan to finance an Ultium cell, which is the battery that will go into the GM cars.
Okay.
So, but that's not, so in 2010, we started out with also in Spring Hill for the Nissan plant. So it's not new for us. Yeah. West of Nashville, Ford is building a plant to build electric cars. Okay. So with that, you have all the ancillary companies that are coming from that. Clarksville is building a electric battery for cars plant. They have 2 of them coming up, and the average salary will be in the 6 figures.
Wow. So here's what's amazing. Everybody listening, I want you to remember this. And we probably mentioned this before, but whenever you're looking for an area to invest in, if you're looking to live there, to invest, either way, you want to have, preferably 3 major separate and unique industries. And then Nashville, Central Tennessee has it. You got higher education, you got the automotive industry, and you got the music industry. And just to the north of Clarksville, you've got a major military base, So you've got 4 major industries. And I'm sure
we've got Train, which is the premier for air conditioners. We've got healthcare. It's amazing to see the growth.
Very diverse and very stable, because those industries, guys, at least 3 of them are pretty much recession proof. Medical, higher education, and believe it or not, music. There's an old saying, no matter what the economy's doing, people will still pay for lipstick and liquor. So I'm not saying everybody that listens to music is a drinker, but the point is people will still pay for those types of things. Okay. And you always will pay for higher education. In fact, college enrollment actually goes up in a recession. How about them apples, So in the medical profession, it's, clearly there's nothing more stable than that. So, but the area, guys, is just a lot of fun. I mean, if you've never been there, I really recommend you put this on your list of places to visit. Like Brianna said, it's easy to get to. You can walk down this right along the river. I mean, restaurants and live music, outdoor dining, and it's relatively temperate area. I mean, you'll have an occasional snow, but it's not like, the frozen tundra of the north. And I'm not knocking, the Dakotas and Wisconsin are beautiful states, But let's face it, I mean, you can stay outdoors longer in Nashville, Tennessee, So your days
And you can get all 4 seasons in 1 week.
That's true. That's right. Yep. And you're less than a day's drive away from the beach. You're less than a day's drive or half a day's drive away from the mountains. I mean, it's just an amazing place. Beautiful scenery too. So let's talk about a little bit about what you do. So you're obviously you're a global investor agent. You're on the global investor agent team. You work with owner occupants, and of course you work with investors too. But the transactions you're working on, what are you seeing as far as trends? I mean, obviously everybody's hearing interest rates are going up, the Fed's likely going to raise them again, and that's all true. But it doesn't mean you panic. It means you're prepared. So in a place like Nashville, I'm sure you're feeling some of the same kind of things. But what are you seeing the market doing? Is it slowing down? Are people still making multiple offers? Are the investors starting to move in again? Because they see expensive deals.
So when the interest rates start creeping up, I knew I'd need to pivot my business to help my owner occupants get into homes. Meaning we're going to have to be more creative with our packages. We were using companies like Ribbon that you would go through them, make the offer, and they would do a cash offer. So when properties were getting $10,000, $20,000 over asking price, I was able to position my clients then. And then when the market cooled as far as being over asking, but the interest rates were up, it locked a lot of my first-time home buyers out. So what I did is I started building relationships with smaller banks or regional banks that were looking to grow their portfolio, that had portfolio loans that didn't charge PMI. So that would raise up the amount that they were qualified for because they didn't have to pay that. Their debt to income ratio was better. So spend that time building relationships and looking at resources, both within banks and nonprofits, that could help position my clients to get them in the homes that they were looking for, and also readjusting expectations. So right now we may not afford the $300,000 loan because the interest rate, it's now $250,000.
Right.
How are we going to put that into our plan? Not only just finding a home, but building wealth through real estate. So maybe instead of thinking of this as our forever home or our 10-year home, this will be our 5-year home. Then we're going to position ourselves to get into that. But the key thing is to take advantage of being a homeowner versus a renter. So it took a lot of pivoting of, my day-to-day business and helping my buyers with their mindset. Those that were in the jumbo loan status, they may have had to put a little bit more down to get the interest rate down. So it was a lot of education, which is actually my major in college. So the market in Tennessee, in Nashville specifically, is in the top 10 as far as activity, but it's not necessarily following the national trends. It's still staying pretty hot.
Okay.
I'm able to work with my clients to position them in the best, the best time of my house is when you need it. And so I'm not, again, not just transactional, but relational. And the relationships, not only with my clients, but with different agencies and different nonprofits and different banks. I have a spreadsheet that lists the products of each of the banks that I work with. And then I tap my clients into the ones that will best position them. And so when it's the right house at the right time, we can pull the trigger.
Yeah. So what's amazing here for this is for all the agents out there. I know what it's like. Believe me, I've been in the business a long time as an investor for 37 years and a broker for 23 years. And you're looking for an advantage. You're looking for what can you do to stay relevant in your client's eyes, and also stay productive, not just survive but even thrive. And there are ways to do it. So what Brianna just made a huge statement with 2 big golden nuggets. One of them is build relationships with your small local community banks. Okay. They're far easier to work with. And I'm not knocking the big banks. I promise you I'm not. I'm just telling you, I know from experience, like Brianna has discovered too, it's far easier to work with the small local community banks. Okay. They are portfolio lenders, generally speaking, which means they don't actually sell their mortgages. right? They're not getting packaged up to be sold on Wall Street, because they're Fannie Mae underwritten mortgages. These are held in-house. The banks keep them, so they can be more flexible in their due diligence process, right? They'll look at the person and not just try to fit every square peg in a round hole like the big banks do. So in any case, so
and their interest rates are competitive.
Yeah.
They're conventional loans. Yep. Sometimes 100%, and you don't have to have 20% equity in order to get the PMI dropped.
Exactly. Yep. But the other thing you mentioned, Brianna, I really appreciate you saying this, is you actually took the extra step, after you've done the work of building the relationships, you built the spreadsheet so you can compare the different banks, offerings and fees and so forth. And it's so much easier to serve your clients, because you imagine, so everybody listen, just imagining this. You're interviewing a buyer client. You sit down with them and you're doing your due diligence. You have to screen them, interview them, and do some, not a financial pre-qualification, but you got to check out their ability to, timing, motivation, readiness, willingness, ability, right? So the ability is that, what makes sense for them financially. Well, now you can match, and you pull out your chart and you say, well, here's all the banks in the area. Here's what they offer. They'd be blown away, because I can promise you, 99 out of 100 agents don't do this kind of stuff, So, but that's what Brianna means by being a relational business partner. She builds the relationship, right? And then the service comes next. Perfect. That's exactly what every agent should need: to feel, think, speak, and act like a business person. And this is a relationship business. And Brianna is basically the poster child. She's giving you her golden nuggets here. So let's.
Well, one thing I wanted to touch on is, because I'm so interested in building, me growing and my clients growing, what I've gained from the team is I had an opportunity with a buyer to buy a multifamily home. And one of the things that they listed that we talked about as far as their vision for building wealth through the real estate was getting a multifamily home and renting it out. So instead of him waiting, he was going to buy a single family home, VA, and then in 2 years turn around, refinance it, get another one VA, and then rent out the first one. We were able, with the VA loan, to get him in a triplex. He lives in the middle. We rented out the other two, and I was able to assist him with the property management. So those were skills I gained through the team, and knowing how to look for investments for him and using what he had access to as far as resources, and jumpstart his vision into becoming to having rental income.
Hi, just a quick announcement. We'll go back to the podcast. If you're curious and been wanting to learn more about the Global Investor Agent Team that we've mentioned sometimes on the podcast, well, you can. On Thursday, January 19th, 7 p.m. Eastern, I'm putting on a special broadcast on Zoom where we call it a GIA launch, GIA meaning Global Investor Agent, okay? So this is for you if you are already an agent or you're thinking of becoming an agent. You definitely want to be on this, okay? The fact is, right now, the market is changing. It's not time to panic. It's time to prepare. And this is going to show you how. The members of the team make an average of 4 transactions, 4 commissions for every client versus only 1 for traditional clients. You also get to work on transactions with investors from around the country, even the world. It completely transforms and expands your business from a local business to a much broader scale. This is real, and it's happening right now, and this is the answer to what's happening in today's economy. I'll see you on the 19th. Look for the link below, click on it, and join us. I'll see you there. It's back to the show. Nice. I like the creativity there. And it's funny when you build a relationship, it's because you tend to listen to people. When you listen to people, you gather the facts and the information. And almost always the solution presents itself when you just take that approach. So, hey, so let's talk about the timing. We're obviously we've been through several years of major price increases, people outbidding each other, multiple offers, waiving contingencies, extremely competitive. It's obviously a very strong seller's market. And then along comes, the heated up economy, and the Fed says we're going to raise rates. So we've had 3 so far, and I'll put a date time stamp on this podcast. In 2022, we've had 3 so far. And we know the Fed's going to raise them at least once or twice more. They just made another announcement. So everybody listening, just remember this. The people that work for the Federal Reserve are generally accountants. They're on a disc profile. That means you're high C. They don't know how to sugarcoat and spin and BS people. They tell it like this. So if somebody from the Fed says we likely will have another rate increase, that's the message. They're telling you exactly what they're going to do. I know the wording says we may need to, but just count on this. It's going to happen. All right. So don't panic, just prepare for it. So when it comes to timing, do you see a more opportunity there for investors coming in? I know the prices are still a little high, and of course it costs more for them to borrow money too. But let's face it, I mean, tell me what it's like in Nashville. What I would think there would be more opportunities, on the investor side.
There are a lot more opportunities, one thing that I've learned is, about every 10 years after the investors have taken all their depreciation, they tend to let go. Mm-hmm. And so one thing that we have access to on the team is a list of what we call board investors, or, mm-hmm. Ones that have high equity in it and have, taken all their depreciation out. Mm-hmm. That, you nurture and say, I have an opportunity, I have this investor that could, take this property. If you want to take that property or several properties and buy a bigger one, we can mm-hmm. do that. So knowing where to look for your investors, like I have investors that are looking, and knowing that I know who owns what mm-hmm. and when the opportunity presents itself. Also knowing that there are other creative financing ways they can do it. They can do hard money loans. They could do investor financing, a group of them get together. Mm-hmm. And they can do traditional loans, and knowing the different, from a bank. And so knowing the different products of the, on the commercial side, mm-hmm. and knowing some developers, and you may have 3 or 4 that go in together to buy some land, that then they, knowing the politicians and the planning commission and what are the expectations for the area, getting in early and having someone with boots on the ground, with contacts that knows what the 10-year plan for an area is, and to take advantage of a time like this where cash is king. Mm-hmm. Has definitely been an advantage to my investors. And those, and they may, like Bud Adams' daughter, mm-hmm. who now owns the Tennessee Titans, is buying out gobbles of land in Williamson County, which is where Spring Hill is, mm-hmm. cash, and just holding.
Yeah.
She's nice. In with the planning commission. She knows what's going to come in about 10 years. So at first sight, you may think, oh, she's just buying land, but she's buying and holding, and she knows what she's doing with it.
Yeah. I swear, football people must be the most well-connected people on the planet. I've of course, spent 25 years in Pittsburgh. And for all the Yinzers out there, obviously, once you're a Steelers fan, you're always a Steelers fan. There's more. Right. I mean, I've been to more cities and towns than 99.9% of the population. And there you can find a Steelers bar in every one of them. In fact, my daughter went to study abroad. I had both my children study in Europe while they were in college. My daughter went to Milan, Italy. There wasn't just one, there was 2 Steelers bars in Milan, Italy. And she brought me back.
When the Steelers play in Tennessee, it's the Tennessee colors and the Steelers, they come en masse.
Oh, it's amazing. But in any case, one of the famous Steelers, of course, Franco Harris, one of the famous running backs back in the late 70s, early 80s when they won all the Super Bowls. It turns out he's an excellent businessman. He's very savvy and very successful. And he started investing in Pittsburgh. And I never forget, he bought this old abandoned hotel. This was a big, giant, 10, 12, 14-story hotel, hundreds of rooms. And it was an area between Pittsburgh and a town called Monroeville. And I'm thinking, why in the heck would Franco Harris buy that thing? I mean, a piece of junk, right? Well, he knew, because he's so connected, he knew the zoning plans, what was designed for the area. He also knew this. Did you know that you can find out where government grant money is going, especially for community and reinvestment?
Mm-hmm. Oh, and, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you've heard it used to be CRA, Community and Reinvestment Act. That was in the 90s. Then Trump came along and they called it the Opportunity Zone. Yeah. It's different angle, but same principle, which is build up the areas that need building up. So he knew that, and this area just happened to be granted a $10 million grant, one little teeny neighborhood, and he took advantage of that and flipped the building without even doing anything other than cleaning it out, and made a lot of money, So in any case, real neat guy. I got to run into him one time in the club level of a game. He's been it's long since been retired, of course. And but just happy, friendly, nice guy, and one of the best business people you can ever meet. So in any case, it pays to do your research, guys. Go to the county building, go to the zoning office, go to the occupancy permit office, find out what are the plans. You can go out like 30 years and see what's going to happen in an area.
And another is your realtor association. So most realtor associations have a legislative committee.
Mm-hmm.
So the neat thing about the MLS in Middle Tennessee is that I think there are 6 realtor associations got together, and we all do the same MLS. Mm-hmm. We have one of them is the Greater Nashville Realtors. We have a legislative committee with a lobbyist and a firm. So we actually get to help shape and be a part of the decisions when it comes to anything dealing with real estate and affordable housing in Middle Tennessee. And so being involved, even just starting at your realtor association, gives you insight into what the city is proposing. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, lots of good stuff for everybody out there listening. Doesn't matter if you're in, the US, Canada, or any of the countries around the world. Everybody knows about Nashville now and wants to be there, either living there or investing there. So you've got one of the top agents in the area, also on the team, Global Investor Agent team, and utilizes all these tools we have. It's just some of them are available to anybody, but not everybody uses them. And some of them are specifically on our team. But what an amazing resource. And by the way, I want to, if it's okay, Brianna, I want to let people know, in addition to being a wonderful servant leader for the community, being a foster mom, I think you said at least 60 children. That's just amazing. And be able to be a top performing realtor with owner occupants and investors. You've also gotten some accolades, and you've become a member yourself of some organizations. And I think I'm not sure what the plans are now, but one of the ones we were talking about last spring, is that still in play?
Yeah. So I am the 2023 Vice President of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers here in Nashville. Awesome. So the organization was started 75 years ago because African Americans could not belong to the National Association of Realtors. So we wanted an organization to where we could further champion the needs and provide resources to those that were disenfranchised. And so now that we are actually required to be a part of the National Association of Realtors, to become a realtor, to use the term realtor, you have to become. We are proud to say that you don't have to become a member of NARAB, but if you are, you're committed to democracy and housing. So that is our focus, democracy and housing for all. And as the chair of the Diversity and Equity and Inclusion Committee, as well as now becoming the vice president, it is just amazing to connect with the community. Yeah. On a broader level, and it's provided me access to be a person at the seat at the table, so that democracy and housing has a voice. Yeah.
Well, that's such a, personally, it's a wonderful thing that you're doing there. And I admire you so much, and I'm proud to be associated with you. I mean, it's wonderful to have you on the team and be and you lead by example. It's just not even, you're such a humble person. You're a pleasure to work with. You've been, one of the most coachable people I've ever had, because you just, like, I'll say A and you'll figure out B through Z on your own. It's just an amazing character trait. So I know a lot of people, there's probably a lot of agents right now thinking, man, I wish I want to be like her. But can agents work with you? Like, is there an agent in Nashville that wants to talk to you or be on your team? And you're still running like not a big formal team, but your own version? Have you got a few agents that you collaborate with? Is that still going on there?
Yeah. So it's been, oh goodness, I've been an active agent since 2019. So that's when we started kind of working together, different brokerages, different backgrounds. One got started in real estate when she bought her first Airbnb, and then became an agent. And so now, she did owner owner occupant sales, but now is really wanting to go more into the investments and Airbnbs, and she's going to do the property management. So yeah, and it's just camaraderie, you know. And then with COVID, we did Zoom, and it's been perfect because we go across state lines. We do vision planning. We do books. You know, we'll read a book together. The book could be about real estate. It could be about business. It could be about mindset, but whatever will help you grow. And whatever the needs of the group of us that are coming together. I'm also a certified mentor with EXP. So I have that I mentor, but you know, more than that, it's building the relationship and supporting each other and helping each other grow.
Yeah. Well, I'm just something else I'm grateful for. So guys, what one of the things she's referring to is we have masterminds on our team, and Brianna runs one of the mastermind groups. It's called a core group. We call it a core group. And it's for people, it's for agents who really need to want to get to that next level. We call it the opportunity group. And Brianna actually leads that group. In addition to everything else, man, I don't know how you do it. And here's the cool thing. I know we're getting short on time here, but you actually have another business that you started this last year with property management. I mean, if you mind just touching on that briefly, let people know, hey, you know, when you're in the game, think of yourself as the hub of a wagon wheel, and you got these spokes going out that are different lines of business you can generate revenue from. Well, Brianna's like living the model. So tell us about the property management side of the thing. You know,
so it was organic. So I had a client that, you know, the timing was organic. So I knew that I eventually wanted to grow into it, and the opportunity presented itself. Client wanted to buy, you know, had this multifamily unit. We needed to manage the other two sides. Plus, you know, he just wanted to live there, didn't want to, you know, have the hands-on. So through investor agent, did some education, the local realtor association, got some certifications, built the business model, you know, and just kind of organically grew with that. And which is now leading into looking into apartment complexes. So now doing commercial. And currently working with a developer now that has a client that's wanting to build a sports facility. So, you know, it's just been organic. It's been exciting.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, is it okay? Would you mind sharing your contact information? I mean, website, email, phone number, whatever you feel comfortable with, because I'm pretty sure you can continue to help and serve others, and they're going to, you know, probably want to reach out to you once they hear this podcast, you know.
Oh, sure. So phone number, text or call, leave a message, send a text. I will return if we miss each other. 615-428-0438. Of course, there's email, Brianna at lathampropertygroup.com. I am building a master website that will list the different projects that I'm involved in. If you wanted to plug in, how to plug in. So I'm building that. That is on my vision board for next year. But I do have a website where you can look for properties, both commercial and residential. So that's typically briannalatham.exprealty.com.
Okay.
And so then Facebook and Instagram, you can plug in Brianna Matil Latham.
Okay.
And pull up and see just, you know, where I am.
Okay. So guys, just so you, thank you for sharing that, Brianna. I'm just gracious of you to share, including your phone number, by the way, you know. So we get a lot of downloads. You'll likely get some phone calls, but for everybody, please, if you're not driving, please write this down. It's Brianna, BRIANNA, and Latham, LATHAM. So it's, you know, email the first one, Brianna at lathampropertygroup.com. Okay. And phone number 615-428, can't read my writing here. 0438. Thank you. So I can even read my writing. That's embarrassing. But so guys, come, you know, join Brianna, come to the Monday Night Live class. I mean, on the show notes, you can see the link for coming on Monday Night Live, 7 p.m. Eastern every week. It's free and open to the public. So come on in. It's actually live, so you can actually talk and ask questions and meet people and things like that. when it's an amazing way to engage and learn. And there's no barriers to entry. It doesn't cost you a dime. And you get to talk to somebody like Brianna too. So in case you can do that, we'll put this in the show notes too. And if you're looking to move to Nashville, man, you can't get a better agent. I mean, top 5 in the entire area. That's huge. That's a 7-county area. Okay, this isn't like just Nashville. This is the Central Tennessee region. All right. I mean, that's a big accolade there. Vice president of the brokers group. My gosh, I could go on and on. But the point is, these are the kind of folks that you need to be hanging around with to succeed. You remember the old saying, where you are in life, your level of success is going to be the factor or the sum of the 5 people closest to you. So my suggestion is get close to people like Brianna. So Brianna, thanks again so much for sharing and so much insight, tips, strategies, information about the area, and information about yourself. And we really think we're just, I can't say enough about you. I just want to say thanks on behalf of everybody for doing this. Any final words of wisdom, like maybe something cool from like your granddad or your mom or something,
Oh, goodness. The one thing about my family, you will not outwork us.
Yeah.
But the one thing I've built on that is it will be smarter.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, that's true. I mean, being able to do all the things you do, you have to make the best use of all your time. And that's one of the keys to success is being a diligent custodian with the most valuable asset you have, which is your time. And you definitely live that. So everybody else, thank you for participating. And if you wouldn't mind, please leave a review for this. I mean, Brianna kind of poured her heart out here, and you can see she's obviously a very busy person. So show some love, give her a good review. And while you're out there, email her, Brianna@LathamPropertyGroup.com, right? Or call 615-428-0438, right? And while you're out there, go visit globalinvestoragent.com. And if you are an agent, my gosh, click on the Learn More button. This right now where we are economically is the time to prepare, not panic, but prepare. Find out what this is all about and just participate and join. You can stick one toe in if you want, or jump right in. It's totally up to you. But go ahead and do that. And we'll see you on the next Monday Night Live class. We'll also see you on the next Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Massive Passive Cash Flow. Be sure to go to realestatewithgarywilson.com to join our community and start building wealth today.